Welcome to the G360 Wealth Podcast. This is the inaugural episode of the show with Sam Diarbakerly, which means we have the opportunity to learn what makes Sam tick and what is unique about his firm, Generation Capital Advisors. I'm Patrice Sikora. With Sam is Matt Ackerman, Chief Brand Officer at Integrated Partners. Sam, why don't you kick it off by telling us about Generation Capital Advisors? What do you do and with whom?
Thanks, Patrice. Generation Capital Advisors is a private wealth management firm with headquarters in both Boston, Massachusetts, and Naples, Florida. And we work with ultra-high net worth families across the country. What are ultra-high net worth families? Those are typically families that have, net worths of north of $10 million. Typically, our clients are corporate executives, business owners, doctors, lawyers, and multi-generational families or family trusts or endowments. How do we work with those clients? Well, we partner with those clients in a variety of fashions. We often talk about kind of the 5 pillars of wealth management: tax, estate, investments, insurance, and client service. So oftentimes we quote ourselves to be an outsourced CFO for those families, where we bring their entire financial life together and quarterback those segments of their financial life, delivering them a holistic result, whether it's managing their stock or bond portfolio or making sure their trust setup is right. That's what we do. And how we do it is by taking a kind of a holistic approach by either working with existing CPAs and estate planning attorneys or providing recommendations for new ones, and quarterbacking those meetings, designing a plan for clients, and ultimately implementing that plan and monitoring it.
Sam, why did you decide to start a podcast?
Well, that's a great question. We decided to start a podcast because the precipice of Generation Capital in G360 is a holistic approach where we work across multiple generations. And being the modern wealth management firm that we are, communicating with our clients is important. And while phone calls and Zoom calls work well, our clients are on the go and they want to be able to tune in and listen and learn. Education is one of our key pillars. And for us, it's important to be able to deliver content in a modern fashion. And our clients are busy. They have busy lives. And for us to be able to deliver content for them to learn about a certain topic on the go was critical to delivering our educational philosophy.
Yeah, I've always been blown away, Sam, by you and your approach. I think you guys are really unique compared to a lot of folks in the industry. But from your perspective, what do you think makes Generation Capital so different?
That's a great question. I think the driver of what makes us different is kind of our roots. Most of our team members came out of private wealth units at large investment banks and got to see how the large firms deliver a holistic approach to their largest clients. But oftentimes, clients that have family businesses or corporate executives don't get access to those services. So what makes us different is, one, streamlining the technology, using customized performance reporting, financial planning software, podcasts, so clients can have access to their entire financial life, whether it's on their computer or their mobile device or on Spotify, was critical for us. Being able to deliver those quote unquote family office services, which in our mind really means being the quarterback in navigating the complexities that come with significant wealth, was crucial. And democratizing that to clients who might not have those $100 million minimums is really important. And we're finding, as we get to touch more people and more families across the country, that the industry has become really stagnant. And a lot of times folks will be with their advisor for 10 or 15 years, and they'll have never talked about taxes or estate planning. They don't even know their accountant's name. And for us, we don't know how you can deliver a world-class wealth management experience if you're not in complete coordination. So for us, we always say we can't be all things to all people all the time. We work with folks who do have complexity and they need constant coordination. And that's really where we provide the most value. And we're seeing a big gap in the industry that wealthy families don't really have access to that complete coordination.
Complexity, coordination. You guys really are able to do it all. But one thing that I think we're not addressing is also that elephant in the room, which is the unique perspective that you and your firm bring to this. Because, you said it to me before that, you're going to be at their retirement party. They're not going to be at yours. And that's unique in this industry where we're seeing so many advisors retiring right now. Talk to me a little about that, about how ultimately, the youth, if you will, at your firm is ultimately a huge advantage as you work with clients.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, most of our clients and new clients want an advisor that's going to be around for their generation. I think that there's a weird obsession going on right now on Wall Street on next generation, and it's not actually the people, it's just the money. So what our firm does is really empathize with that quote unquote next generation. We like to break them up into different generational segments, G1, 2, or 3, because it's not next, it's now. And we are preparing those clients for wealth that may be transferred to them, but also building their own wealth. What we found is that those clients that, G2s or G3s, they're not sitting around waiting for an inheritance. They're actually working and paving their own way. So we're helping them steward their own capital, which may not be as substantive as it will be in the future, but build those practices so that they are well prepared to manage their own finances and any bequests they may receive. But the obsession on Wall Street right now is just about the wealth transfer to retain the clients. It's not actually on those clients.
Man, you really nailed it on the head. And I saw some data this week that really backs that up. I saw data that indicates only 17% of the next generation of clients even knows who their parent's advisor is. They're thinking about this wealth transfer without really thinking about the people that are behind it. And you guys are getting ahead of that in a unique way by really working with that generation, not just waiting for the generation you are working with to pass the money along. That's really a critical difference here.
Yeah, you don't want to be waiting outside the funeral home to meet the next generation. That's not really a good holistic long-term approach. What we do is we start engaging, at appropriate times, and oftentimes it can even be with high school aged clients, where we're working with them to pick a stock and set up an account and learn how to interface with us, so they already know who we are, and oftentimes that is what builds trust, and our client families really appreciate is that everybody knows who we are and how we operate and how they can always engage us.
And see, the big part of that, you mentioned high school, is it's really, and you mentioned as one of your pillars too here, education. And, had the pleasure of working closely with you on another video series, Smarter in 60, where you guys are really all about education and really playing a very different long game here with clients where you're not looking, it's not all about, wallet share and money. It's really about educating. Why is that so important to you? And why is it such a differentiator in this industry?
Well, Warren Buffett has a couple of rules. I think rule number 1 is don't lose money. Rule number 2, I think, is seed number 1. And I'm not sure if it's 3, 4, or 5, but one of those is know what you own. And it's oftentimes shocking that some of the blind approaches clients take with their advisors and don't understand what's going on. And there's a lot of complacency in the industry, right? You can't have a great result unless you know your options. There's no free lunch in tax planning, estate planning, investment planning. There's pros and cons to every strategies, and it's important that clients understand that. One of our favorite sayings is there's no good financial surprises. You never go to your mailbox and get a novelty check from the IRS with a bunch of balloons that come down. And typically it's those love letters, say you need to pay more money. Same thing with investments or insurance. And a lot of times ultra high net worth families have exposure and access to products that can work really well, but also can have significant complexity, like alternative investments or insurance trusts. And it's really important for us that we completely educate our clients so that 5 years down the road, they know exactly what they own and how it works in conjunction with their broader portfolio. Some of these investments are generational in nature, some of the longer term private equity investments, but it's critical that clients understand that, hey, if you invest in a private equity drawdown fund, you're going to get a K1 and you're going to be doing your taxes in September, not April. And those are lessons we've learned along the way from our prior roles at larger investment banks. And to my prior point about there being a gap in the industry, most clients actually want to know what's going on in their portfolio. They're just scared to ask. And that's why it's important to be proactive and educational in your approach, because we're finding that clients are transferring their accounts when we offer that. They just don't want to ask their advisor because they're uncomfortable.
That's huge. We are scared to ask because all of us, our nature is always, I don't want to look stupid. So essentially, we nod our heads, we smile, and we think to ourselves, I guess I'll look up what that means later. I'll look up what a K2 means later. And we all do it. We all do it on a regular basis. How do you break through that and really get them to ask good questions? Does it start by starting young?
I think it's during our onboarding process. Even in that process, we take our time. Typically, before somebody becomes a client, we have 3 meetings with them, and we always like to say give them a test run. Right, here's what it's going to look like to become a client, and having the right people on our team. Where we have subject matter experts across every area, and we have the right folks in the right seats who are subject matter experts on client service or investment management, and making sure that we provide those resources to our clients. And that's why we work with a select handful of families who have that high complexity. Because at Generation Capital, our goal isn't to be topical. We're not going to put you in an investment portfolio and you'll hear from us next year. Typically, our greatest value add is the partnership, right? Partnering with the estate attorney, implementing those strategies, updating the brokerage accounts to trust, ensuring that you're not missing any opportunities, and having a team that has experience with the ultra high net worth makes the relationship that much more fluid. So when you call our office, every single person knows what Section 1202 stock is, or exercising ISO strategies. And that's really what makes us unique as far as not only what we can offer, but executing on it. I can't tell you how many times I've come across a prospective client or an existing client saying, yeah, my old advisor team brought up these great ideas. They just never did it.
It's really fascinating because I think there's this notion sometimes where, trust me, I've got this, by some advisors, and they want their clients to nod their heads, but you really believe in that philosophy. There's no dumb questions, right? You'd rather you educate a client, get them to ask good questions, and that's a client who's there for life, not necessarily the one who's just nodding along with you as you execute a plan for them.
We always tell clients and educate clients that we are always going to be doing what's best for you 24/7, being proactive, not only around your investments, but cybersecurity, family dynamics planning. But we always educate clients, the buck stops with you, and we want you to be fully empowered. For years, I always told clients, hey, if I get hit by a bus, I want you to know that your portfolio is taken care of, not by our partners and colleagues at the firm, but because we've taught you along the way how to engage with us. And creating that level of trust with clients is paramount in order to deliver a good result. If clients don't trust you, there's no way you're going to be able to deliver a world-class wealth management experience, because they're not going to be able to embrace the high conviction ideas.
Now, you mentioned that again, a world-class experience. Experience is everything. I always say things like, they're not going to always remember what you told them, but they're going to remember how they felt. Talking about that client experience and how you guys put it at the top of the pyramid as you're delivering not just results, but delivering that experience to clients.
When I meet with clients and new clients, the message that we always like to joke is that typically investment management is 5 to 10% of the overall experience that we deliver. Now, that's the centerpiece of how we manage your financial life, but it's client service is really vital. And that means being proactive in nature, making sure that when there's news on tariffs or stock market volatility, we're calling our clients, ensuring that they are feeling okay about their portfolio. If they have cash in dollar cost average programs, that we're going to accelerate it. Being proactive in nature is really at the heart of the client experience, making sure that if we're coordinating with an insurance advisor or a estate attorney, that any strategies we're implementing have a timeline and they're on track to be completed in short order, and making sure that we are the quarterback of that so the client can focus on their life. Our clients are wealthy individuals. They work obscene amounts of hours. They have complex lives. When they're not working, they're traveling or spending time with their family. It's our job to make sure that any initiative, whether it's an idea generated from us or a CPA, gets across the finish line and is documented and the client understands that it's complete. As simple as saying, hey, the transfer is done, rather than waiting to say, is it done or not? You know, that's the world-class experience that we strive to drive.
Complexity requires a quarterback. So as you kind of think about that and the role that you play, these clients with complex lives, the ultra high net worth, how do you ultimately step in and be that quarterback so they have really that one point of contact rather than having to reach out to all these different advisors and, create that mass confusion? How do you really just step into that role and ultimately be the glue for them in their financial lives?
I think the first thing is empathy, right? I am a business owner. Our partners on our team are business owners and equity owners. We understand what it's like to run a business or run a business inside a broader organization. These folks that we work with, they're too busy to focus on this stuff. So candidly, it's about having a process and policies and procedures internally to make sure that we're leveraging technology and candidly AI in many cases now to ensure that we well track any open initiatives and have automated reminders to ensure that we're following up. And it's about the approach you take. Our approach as a firm is to be proactive. So when we're working with other busy professionals and key advisors, it's important to coordinate, as simple as putting everybody on the same email, right? If clients shouldn't be interfacing one-on-one with just their advisor or their estate attorney or their CPA, the whole team should be coordinated. It's as simple as saying just CCing for visibility, right? Because sometimes that might generate an idea from a CPA or an estate attorney. And it's happened countless amount of times. I mean, whether we're helping a client with an ESOP plan or give Section 1202 stock, with these complex strategies, it's important to remain compliant. Who files the 709? Is it the CPA or the accountant? And who is tracking to making sure that they know who should file it? Because oftentimes it may turn into a staring contest to say, I thought you were doing it. And ensuring that we're not doing the stuff at the last second. And we take that on as our job to be that quarterback. We often tell clients, when you work with us, you're engaging with us. We charge an engagement fee, not an investment fee, because that comes with being a comprehensive partner.
We've had a lot of C's here in this conversation. Another C
I'm
there.
really good at acronyms.
I love it. Coordination, compassion, complexity. We even had a CC there where you're going to CC them on all this stuff. So we had a lot of C's. But to me, it's two P's. And one of them you mentioned and one of them you haven't yet. That is evident to me all the time. Proactive, which you mentioned. But another P is passion. You have such passion for what you do. Your team has such passion and engagement. I mean, how do you bottle that? Where does that come from? Why do you have such passion for what you do and the people you help?
I think, first of all, we are doing a very serious job, right? I don't want to compare myself to people who are saving lives, because we're definitely not doing that by any means. But, maybe people are more open to talk about it now. But, when I was a kid, you're always taught, don't talk about your money, privacy. Money and wealth is a private thing, and our clients are letting us into their life. And oftentimes there's information shared that's confidential, and family, family dynamics issues come up. We have a very serious job, and we can't take on that responsibility if we don't love what we do, right? And there's also a huge gap in the industry to deliver the good work that we're doing. And candidly, I want to help as many people as possible, because I know most of the time when we look at a statement or a plan that there's a huge coordination gap, and being able to deliver that result to a client, especially, like business owners who are just really focused on working on their business, when we can deliver them an idea that might save them several $100,000 in taxes now, or several $1 million in estate tax, and they've never heard about this, there's nothing more fun and rewarding when a client just looks at us and, thanks us for the work we've done. And we thank our clients for letting us in and trusting us to deliver the work. But that's what really drives us, is that there's so much opportunity to help people, whether it's business planning or charitable giving, which is something that we really enjoy coordinating. Most of the time, people are writing checks to their favorite organization, and tracking down, 100, different grant letters. Well, there's better ways to do it. It's just so intimidating when you talk about a CRAD or a CLUT or a family foundation or a DAF and all the acronyms. Back to the prior point of why is it important to do a podcast? Well, we can digitally share education to clients so they can listen to it on the go. And then when they talk to us, they're fully prepared, and then they can make an empowered decision. And that's what drives us, is client success. And that's where the passion comes from.
That's huge. I mean, as somebody who grew up in a house where we didn't talk about money, I would love it if you could stop the money silence, get the next generation, get kids talking about money, get them to understand it. I think we get into trouble with money when we're quiet about it, and real education about these things, so that all these acronyms don't make the Ackermans, the eyes roll back in our head and we fall asleep. I think it's important. So I'm so inspired by that passion that we stop that money silence. We really educate kids. We educate the next generation so that, money isn't a 4-letter word here.
Transparency, communication, these are all things that we've learned that are important in working with high net worth families. Oftentimes we talk about the dimmer switch. Right, we don't want to turn the lights on and off. You might not want to be showing your brokerage statement to your 9-year-old child, but we can start turning the lights on. Turning the lights on aren't necessarily explaining what's in the portfolio or net worth, but it's more about educating and saying, hey, now it's time to start taking this seriously. I also think I was having a conversation with a client last night, and he was asking me what he was seeing in the next generation, the following generation, because he was concerned for his grandchildren. And I think one unique perspective that we offer is that we are contemporaries to that generation. And with the changing dynamics of social life and work and interest rates and real asset costs, I think that the generation that's in their 30s, maybe millennials, are really struggling because they feel like they can never buy a home. And I recall, Matt, you once told me that your parents bought their house for a bag of marbles.
They did.
And now it's worth substantially more than that. So in this environment and what the culture is like around millennials, especially living in major cities where there's this extremely high cost of living. I mean, to park in Boston where we are, it's probably $50 for the day. It seems unattainable to purchase a home. And what we do is we work with our clients and put them on a plan and articulate that. Because if you're not working on a plan and you're a young professional, maybe just married, you're going to be really behind the 8 ball, because you need to be disciplined in this environment, especially where rates on mortgages aren't coming down, as at least as of this podcast. But the cost of ownership is really intimidating. But one of the great joys that we have is working with those generations to put a plan together so they can actually buy their first house. And that's really another area of passion comes from, sending out those closing wires.
That's incredible. So get educated, get disciplined, get smart. Are these the type of conversations we can expect from this podcast? Absolutely.
The point of the podcast is educational in nature. So what our listeners should expect is interviews with Matt and Sam and Rex and Brandon on our team with subject matter experts. We're going to have several sub-series: generational wealth, generational giving, generational tax, generational investments, generational lifestyle. So whether it's world-class estate planning attorneys talking about gifting an valuation discount to an irrevocable trust, or tax experts talking about basics of understanding how tax works to the complexities of business owner taxation, or charitable experts talking about what the best way to give is, our listeners should expect podcasts that are not lengthy in nature, that are bite-sized, where they can quickly get access to education from the world's leading experts in that field on any subject that is interesting to them.
Sam, that was a great wrap up right there. I really am looking forward to working with you on this podcast. Matt, I hope you're back too, because it's going to be fantastically instructional. As you say, education. This is an educational tool for you. And listeners, This is just the beginning for G360 Wealth Podcast. So be sure to follow or subscribe to make sure you know when a new episode's ready for you. And of course, share with others. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for listening to the G360 Wealth Podcast. If today's episode gave you something to think about or act on, share it with someone who might need it. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you're always in the loop. If you want to learn more about how we help families like yours simplify and grow their wealth, visit us at generationcapitaladvisors.com. Until next time, take care and keep building. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guests and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Generation Capital Advisors. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Investment advice offered through Integrated Partners, doing business as Generation Capital Advisors, a registered investment advisor. The information in this material is for general information only and is not intended to provide specific advice or recommendation for any individual. Integrated Partners does not provide legal, tax, or mortgage advice or services. Please consult your legal or tax advisor regarding your specific situation. All investing involves risk, including loss of principal. No strategy assures success or protects against loss.